Hello and welcome to TableTalk Friday, your weekly dose of D&D banter between three men in a bedroom. If you like their style, make sure to follow them on whichever podcast service you prefer. And come back every Friday for another upload. Now, back to the boys.
I really wouldn't play a Harengon, though.
Oh, Harengons
Really
are
bad.
cool.
I really just want to jump and attack. It doesn't even matter what kind of attack. It could be a magical attack. It could be like a barbarian type of attack. I just want to jump and hit people.
So the way I would flavor a Harengon, because I would love to play a Harengon monk with like, what are those baton things that you hold in your hand and they face backwards like down your forearm?
Like a nightstick?
Like they're like baton type deals, but you can kind of picture them, right?
Yeah, it's a police baton.
Yeah, something like that. I would love to play a character with two of those down your forearms and just like running around, jumping off walls, like doing all kinds of attacks, like blunt force attacks with them.
Police bunny?
Yeah, you mean like Zootopia?
That's
Agent
exactly
Hops?
what I was thinking. That would be pretty solid.
It's Hops, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Either way, it sounds really cool.
Yeah. I love the idea of like doing like really like a quick. I don't know if you guys have seen the animation for the all-out attack from Persona where like they're jumping all over the sides of the screen and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Just imagine that as a bunny. And you're jumping all over all sides of the enemy, hitting them with police batons.
Yeah, no, I did have that that one character with the revised or reflavored version of the Way of the Four Elements monk, where I was a wood elf, and I definitely had that flavor because there was the one feature where you're lighter than a leaf or something like that.
Yes, you could glide.
Yeah, exactly. So you have X amount of movement, and then if you're high up in the air, you could basically be bouncing from one thing to the other. And as long as you've got enough space to run, yeah, I was able to jump pretty far too. So
That was really cool too because of the setting we were in, which was a big tree house that you guys were fighting dark elf members from.
yeah,
So you were in a treehouse area, so you ran up the tree, jumped off, and like glided over, hitting enemies in the air. And I was like, "This is so cool."
yeah, I feel like we haven't used it since, but I would definitely allow it.
Yeah,
It wasn't overly broken or anything, especially now with the dragon monk that can also fly.
it was just a really cool monk.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about it before, but I really just want to do a jump build. Really bad. Just Harengon, Barbarian, take the, I think, athletics feat. Anything that helps you jump
of striding and
further.
springing.
Yes. Just, I want to jump 120 feet in one turn.
And you have to fall.
yeah.
But it would be cool.
I don't know if the rules don't allow that very easily though, because I'm pretty sure they do limit it. It's something to the effect of you can't jump further than your maximum movement anyways. So there'd have to be some sort of concession there. Like maybe you're a tabaxi, but you still have boots of spreading and springing, and then barbarian for the extra movement, and then something else.
Got to play something that can cast haste too then.
Yeah, well at that point, yeah. As a DM, I'd say, yeah, sure, you can jump that.
Yeah,
With all
I
that
mean,
momentum.
I wouldn't say you being able to jump that high is broken, given that lots of people can fly.
It has nothing to do with being broken. I just want to be able to jump 120 feet in the sky.
It would be fun.
I take a ton of damage when I land, but I'm going to land on somebody, I guarantee you.
The coolest thing would be being a barbarian who does that, and the goal is to jump up and catch flying things and pull them down to the rest of the party.
Ooh,
You know,
okay,
it's like
okay.
a grappler type deal. So your goal is to like actually take out, like you're like an AA barbarian. You grab them and you fall down to the ground with them.
I mean,
Ooh.
that's actually the coolest thing that I've ever heard of, because I've had that problem so many times where it's like, okay, I'm a melee character, and there's a dragon. It's flying. I really can't do anything here. But just being able to say, yeah, I catch up to it.
Exactly. You take one solid jump, like you ready yourself, squat all the way to the ground, and just doom right up into the air to catch it.
Ooh.
Okay, now I
All right,
play
a
this
jump
character
build. We
too.
got to make this jump build, guys. A full party of jumpers.
We're the jump squad.
It's just three Harengon, and they're just meant for taking down dragons.
That sounds so fucking silly.
They're wyvern hunters.
You take down the wyvern, you just got jumped.
That wasn't funny.
Yeah, it was. It was super funny.
We'll work on our tagline later.
It would be cool though to be like wyvern riders or something like that, and then like your goal is to jump off the wyvern onto something else, and then back to your wyvern if you need to.
That seems really cool, and now I'm thinking about the Fire Emblem class, the Wyvern Rider.
Yeah.
I want to play that in D&D now, especially that they've got the
Drake
Dragon
Warden.
Owl. Yeah, or Drake Warden Ranger. Yeah, that would work too.
You're a Harengon Drake Warden Ranger.
But yeah, I was thinking you could do it as a paladin too, I suppose. You'd have to be high enough level to cast Find Greater Steed, but like with a Dragon L mount.
You know what might make that a little bit easier?
What?
A feat. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. This has been the Feat episode. It's over. No, welcome to this episode of Table Talk Friday, where we're going to talk all about feats. Now, in front of me, I happen to have a player's handbook, but Zach, you're going to be in charge of the Xanathars and Tasha's feats that are available to us after we get out of the player's handbook section. But boys, we sound really cool. We sound different.
We do.
Ooh.
Yeah, we switched our setup from having one microphone between the three of us to having three separate microphones, and it, I feel like it sounds better. I like it a lot better. It feels more professional.
We sound more wealthy. I feel like I sound so rich right now.
Oh, now I get it.
Rich with quality.
Rich with sound quality, my friend.
All right, guys. So let's start from the very beginning. What is a feat? How do I get a feat? What do they do?
Well, and that's actually a pretty good question, because as a new player, when I first started, my DM said, yeah, you could take a feat at 4th level. And I thought, yeah, great. What is that? So it doesn't really describe itself very well when you just hear the name. But a feat is basically like a mini feature. So it's a funny play on words when you think about it. But it's basically a feature that isn't tied to any particular class, and you can pick it up at certain points. So any character, when they reach certain levels, depending on your class, but basically whenever you get an ability score improvement, you can use this optional rule that allows you to take a feat, which is a class feature or just a feature in general that enhances your abilities in some way, which is super broad, but basically there's just a lot of really cool things that you can do for any character that helps specialize in whatever way you want to customize your character that isn't class specific.
And this would be in place of taking, say, an ability score increase where you can use 2 points to upgrade your stats. So say if my dexterity is a 17, I can up it with one of those points to an 18 and then up something else with the other one.
Exactly, yep.
So you either get the choice of an ability score increase or a feat at these markers in your level. So like level 4, level 8, these like milestones.
Additionally, if you want to use another variant rule, you could be a variant human, and you would get a feat at level 1, or you can do the custom lineage from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and then at that point, any character that you make could potentially have a feat at level 1 if you really wanted. You'd just be sacrificing other racial features there.
Exactly.
I actually really do enjoy that option. Not even just specifically for the feat, although the feat is really nice, just so you don't have to play variant human every time. It's a pretty cool option. I don't think you guys have tried it quite yet.
I had a custom lineage for my Harengon in the one-off we did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It feels very balanced, but I feel like it gives you a lot of flavor to go forward with.
Right.
Yeah, it really depends. I've got one in my back pocket. I've wanted to play a half ogre. There's just something that's been stuck in the back of my mind. And I was thinking before Tasha's came out and provided this custom lineage option, I was thinking, okay, I'll just reflavor a Goliath. But now that I have the option, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, there's definitely something cool I could do here. I'm not sure what it is yet, but that's a character that I've been thinking about for a while.
So I thought of something a little bit fun. I don't know if you guys can recall. I'll give you some time to think because I already know mine. Can you recall the first feat you took? As a new player, what's the first feat you ended up taking? The first one I personally ended up taking was the mobile feat. I was a monk, and we did end up hitting level 4 in our adventure. So, for example, the mobile feat is meant for characters that are very fast, very agile, and increases your speed by 10 feet. I was already a monk, so my speed was insane by that point. When you use the dash action, difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement speed, which is nice if you use difficult terrain rules. We don't typically end up using that a lot in our game. Like every now and then I'll make something cost extra movement, say if it's an elevated surface or like a specific body fell there, Every now and then I'll use it as difficult terrain, but it does end up being a rule that we end up skipping a lot at our table. When you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit it or not. So that was really nice, is being able to swipe at a creature and get out of range. So the mobile feat's cool, and that is the first one I ended up taking with Schmidt the Monk.
Yep. And that was very powerful, too. Just a fantastic feat. You actually did end up using the difficult terrain part as well, in a very specific circumstance. I think it was only once. But our party wizard, the gnome Snagglepuss, had been swept up by a wyvern, and the wyvern was flying away with him towards its cave, which was up on top of this cliff face, basically. And the incline was just... You were able to scale it just well enough because you had that mobile feat. And you pretty much kept pace with it.
Yeah, so
it
the
was going
wyvern
like 120
flew...
feet or
Yeah,
something.
the wyvern ended up flying, like, 500 feet up a hill, and I was able to make it like within 2 turns because I was double dashing as a monk. So I had like 50 something movement speed, and not only that, but Lanky Eric didn't use the dash rule quite correctly. He instead, when we double dash, we would multiply your speed by 2 and then multiply it again. So it would be like, ooh, you go 30. If your speed is 30 feet, then you dash at 60 feet. Then if you dash again with like a cunning action or something, it would then be 120 at his table. So we were using those rules at the time. So as a monk, I had like 45 or 50 movement speed at this point.
And that's
so
before
I was
haste, I presume.
Yeah, and that's before haste. So now just imagine how broken we can make it with those rules at that point. Nowadays we use the actual like you add it. So 30 feet, you dash 60, you dash again 90.
Yeah.
Which is how it is. Rules is written. Zach, I think I remember the first feat you took, but can you tell me what it was?
Well, yeah, so the first feat that I ever used, I'll say, was actually, it was an Unearthed Arcana option, which is no longer available it was never incorporated into official material, so we've sort of stopped using it at our table, but I did take the Brawny feat, I remember, which gives you expertise in athletics, which basically allows you to add double your proficiency bonus to that. We also did it wrong, so we doubled the entire athletics score altogether, plus the strength, which we were new players, okay? But
with a relatively new DM.
Yep, and then I believe the other part of that is it allows you to carry double your typical amount or something like that.
Right.
But we don't use that feat anymore, so... since that one doesn't count, I do recall as Quinn Artman, the first feat I took was Prodigy, which gives you 1 extra skill proficiency of your choice, skill proficiency, a tool proficiency, and fluency in 1 language, and then additionally you get expertise in 1 skill of your choosing, which is basically skill expert from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. But I believe Skill Expert also increases one of your ability scores, so I definitely wouldn't take Prodigy again. And Prodigy is a feat from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. But...
I definitely thought it was Defensive Duelist.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I'll tell you who did take Defensive Duelist. It was Zach's brother Eric with his rogue Varkin, which lets you use a reaction to you gain a +3 benefit to...
Let's see, when you're wielding a finesse weapon with which you are proficient and another creature hits you with a melee attack, you can use a reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC for that attack.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, so you could use your reaction just as Defensive Duelist. If you're using a finesse weapon like a short sword or a rapier or something, you can then just add your AC or your proficiency bonus. So 2, then 3, then 4.
Yeah, which, very cool, but kind of suboptimal on a rogue, specifically... he took it at 4th level thinking, yep, I'm going to be using this all the time. And then at 5th level, he got Uncanny Dodge.
Exactly. I was going to say Uncanny Dodge is like infinitely better.
Uh-huh. So, but he didn't know. He was also a new player. And at that point, he was also a variant human. So he had the dual wielder feat as well at that point. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. Quinn was also a variant human, and he had the Blade Master feat, which was also Unearthed Arcana.
Blade Master. I was replacing Defensive Duelist with Blade Master in my head.
Yep. So I don't remember all the specifics of that feat, but essentially you can use your reaction on your turn to grant yourself +1 AC for the entire round. And then at the start of your next turn, you can do it again if you want.
Which you did all the time.
Yeah, I just said on my turn, yep, I take a defensive stance, and I always said that every single time.
Yeah, because then always his AC was 1 higher. So
I kind of like that. That's simple and effective without needing to buy a 500 gold piece worth ring of protection.
yeah, but you do have to use a feat on it.
Right, and your reaction every single turn. Though, oh yeah, I do remember the one other thing it did was it gives you a +1 on your attack rolls with swords. So pretty cool.
Okay.
But I can see why they got rid of it, and I think they've sort of replaced it in spirit in Tasha's with the it's like the Crusher and Piercer and Slasher feats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like those.
Which makes it more open than just with swords. But it bases it on damage type instead, which I do like those feats. But I think it was the right call to not allow your players to limit yourselves with weapons, especially because there was one time where we got captured and all our weapons got taken away, and for a couple sessions, Quinn was using a Morningstar instead. So.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yep, and I was so pissed because I didn't get my +1 on attack rolls. I was like, someone find me a sword.
Man, maybe I'll have to be a paladin with a Morningstar. No one ever uses those things.
Yeah, it's a cool weapon, too. I'm pretty sure it's one-handed, but for some reason, you can't use it with 2 hands. So it's like a longsword, but you don't get the option to 1d10 it if you really want.
Yeah, you would think you'd be able to two-hand it and like get a D10 of like bludgeoning damage.
At our table, that's how it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
Is it still a D8 of damage?
Yeah, it's a D8. So
wow.
it's all right. I believe it does piercing damage. But, I think a Morningstar is also kind of a bludgeoning weapon, so I don't know. I don't know how I'd rule that, but I feel like if you hit a skeleton with a Morningstar, it shouldn't have resistance against it.
Maybe you choose when you take the weapon, how you would use it.
Yeah, maybe.
Either that or situational.
Maybe instead of replacing or like getting the 1d10, when you hold it with 2 hands, then it does bludgeoning damage because you're hitting harder. Something like that.
Yeah, something cool like that could work.
That could be cool, but that's all homebrew. That's not that's not in the
Yeah,
books.
we're making stuff up.
Yep.
Drew, do you have any recollection as to your first feat?
I'll be perfectly honest. I don't remember my first feat. However, I did play a 14th level rogue the first time I played. My first feat that I actually remember was when I turned, I want to say level 12-ish as Eknon for real, and I took the skilled feat, which is not probably the feat you think of when you first think of feats. You probably think of some better stuff. It's not exactly the most optimal feat by any means. But my character was Inquisitive Rogue, so he was very curious. He was always learning new things. He was very inquiring into other people's minds and their habits. So I had it so that he learned things over time. So with the skilled feat, you get 3 proficiencies, I think from anything that you want for the most part. You just pick 3 proficiencies and you get them. Where it was really cool was later when I got Reliable Talent, I got 3 different abilities that I could not roll lower than a 10 on at that point.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a really good synergy. I didn't even think about that. I was in the back of my mind. I was like, "Oh, you poor bastard! You stupid idiot! Taking the skilled feat when you could have gotten something better with expertise." But no, that's actually really good on a rogue of a certain level, at least.
Oh yeah, I think it was at that point in the game. I think it's like 14th or 15th level. You get Reliable Talent at that point. I want to say it was Persuasion, Intimidation, Perception, Insight, Stealth. Nothing I could roll any lower than like an 18 on at the very least.
Yeah,
it was
it was
insane.
great.
Yeah, and rogues already get 3 skills, I believe, at level 1. They get 3 skill proficiencies versus other classes that typically get 2. So that's really good.
I mean, if you're going a skill build, you're going full on either Bard or Rogue.
No, you multi-class because I believe you get an extra skill when you multi-class into Rogue or Bard. So you got to be a Rogue Bard. And I think there's a cleric
Imagine
that gives
proficiency
you more
in
skills.
every skill.
Yeah.
You take the skilled feat 3 times, you have all of them.
It could be done. It definitely could be done. I don't know why you would do that, though.
Well, see, at that point, that's when
Because
you
then
start
you handle
taking,
all the stuff that's not combat.
just
All right,
pure
everyone,
utility.
sit down. It's Zach's time to play.
Well, it's just like, oh, we have an investigation going on. We'll let him handle it, and then he'll tell us where to go to fight.
Yeah. If I were playing with that character, and I wasn't that character at the table, I think I might get a little annoyed when my character has
He
a couple
cooks.
skills.
He cleans. He talks. He does everything.
Every time I try and investigate, he says, "Let me do it too," and he always rolls higher.
I can't roll lower than 18.
Pretty much.
I feel like if you are going to do this skill build, as much as I don't want to see it done, you have to just start taking multi-classes in everything at that point. That way you're just, above average at everything you do.
Yeah, I mean, so if you
of all
multi-class
trades.
cleric, yeah, and then you can take guidance to add even more to your ability
Oh.
checks.
Okay.
That's disgusting. I hate it.
I hate it a lot. I don't want to see it done, but I think
I
it'd be
want
fun.
Sean to do it.
Oh, gosh.
Sean would do it.
And he'd do it so well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we all know what our first feat was. What are some notable feats? Not necessarily powerful ones, but just ones that you guys like.
Well, so I think just getting this out of the way, I do have a pick for the best feats out there. It's actually a tie, and so these don't work on every single build. So I'll say that up front. But the most power gamey feats that I can think of, if you really want to just get the most bang for your buck for a feat, Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter. Both are fantastic feats, and I've used them both at different times at our various tables.
They're easy to understand.
Yeah, very easy to understand. And when you take that feat, you definitely notice, and so does everyone else at the table. So essentially, the feature that these both share is when you make an attack with, for Great Weapon Master, it would be with a heavy weapon, or if it's Sharpshooter, it would be with a ranged weapon. You can choose to take a -5 penalty to your attack roll, but if you hit, you get a +10 bonus to your damage, which is disgusting on builds with a very high attack modifier. You can do things like take the archer fighting style. You can do anything that gives you advantage.
I was about to say, if anything can give you advantage.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It gets just disgusting when your DM steps up with a CR 16 creature and you're level 10, and you say, hold on, guys, I got this one.
I've got 3 shots. Don't worry, I'm doing at least 30 damage this round.
Yeah. Well, not even that. It gets insane with Oswin, my current character for Descent into Avernus, has this feat. And if he lands both of his hits, he gets a +6 base from his intelligence plus his crossbow, and then 10 on top of that, and then any additional spells or anything that added on top of that. You're regularly pulling roughly 50 damage per turn, and of course it's single target damage, so maybe not quite as good as a fireball in the long term. But the fact that that's free, you can do that every single turn.
Yeah.
And not to mention, as many times as you want on that turn. As many attacks as you get, you can make them all Great Weapon Master or Sharpshooter.
Well, for instance, a character that we lost recently, Nuth,
It's too soon, man. Come on.
he didn't have Great Weapon Master, I don't think. But if he did, and because he was a fighter, if you action surge on top of that, like, can you just imagine the amount of damage you could do with a massive modifier, like a +2 weapon, plus advantage on 1 or 2 of those attacks, and you get 6 of them in a turn. You could be doing upwards of 100, 110 damage on a turn just because.
That's disgusting.
Yep, as a Rune Knight, Nuth was pulling those kinds of numbers without Great Weapon Master.
Yeah,
so-
if he gets 1 crit somewhere in there, it's like, oh, well, boss is done.
Yeah, Seth needs to add 200 hit points to every monster
Well,
we
and
fight.
I would regularly account for things like that. I mean, by either having multiple strong enemies instead of having multiple enemies that are a little bit lower in the hit point pool, but okay, there's 3 or 4 ads here with 90 plus health each, and then also the boss who has 200 or 300. That kind of accounts for it. And I never want combat to go longer than 3 or 4 rounds most of the time. Sometimes we can get in that 5 or 6 round range, and it's like, okay, we're still kind of feeling it. But when we go past that point, it gets exhausting anyways.
For sure.
So in that 3 or 4 round range of combat, it's kind of nice. And it's good to know that I can put a 300 or 400 health monster in front of you guys, and it's not going to take 3 hours to fight. It'll take more like an hour and a half.
For sure. I just want to also highlight the other features of both these feats since we're talking about them. Sharpshooter, in addition to this awesome damage buff, potentially, You also can attack at long range without imposing disadvantage on yourself. So that would be your maximum range for your weapon. For a heavy crossbow, that's 400 feet that you can fire without getting disadvantage. With a longbow, that is 600 feet. That dragon can't, in 2 turns of flying away from you, it still can't escape your range. And then also your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover.
Unless it's a magic dragon and it can teleport and or cast mirror image.
Yeah, or it casts haste on itself.
Yeah.
And then for Great Weapon Master, the other thing that it does is when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points with one, you can make a melee weapon attack as a bonus action, which is less good than the sharpshooter features, but that -5 +10 is definitely that's well worth the entire feat, I would say.
I think beyond any of the abilities of sharpshooter, I kind of like taking the feat just to call yourself a sharpshooter, just to have that title.
Yeah. I'm Oswald Alemaker, sharpshooter.
And you
Maybe
take
he'll
something
say that at some point.
like a ranger or fighter, you get that +2 in archery or something like that. You're just the ultimate marksman.
Well,
That'd be cool.
So imagine like a +3 bow. You've got the archery feat, or archery fighting style. I don't know why I keep wanting to say feat. You've got bracers of archery, so you get a +2 on your damage with your bow.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
That's nasty. I'm spitting.
Oh, yeah.
Drew, any notable feats that you would like to bring up?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to bring up one of my personal favorites, and I actually brought this one up before. I really like Inspiring Leader.
Yeah.
Again, it's not something that you pick a whole lot, and I wouldn't say it's even one of the most powerful ones by far. But it's really flavorful and fun, especially if you're going to play one of those charismatic types of characters. Whether
Face of
you're
the party.
Yeah. So you can play a bard, warlock, paladin, anything like that, sorcerer. Basically, you just give a 10-minute speech, and it does specifically say it has to be 10 minutes, although I feel like after a little while it would probably just, be a couple-second thing that sort of happens.
Right. That's my one issue with this feat, is just imagining, all right, I'm the DM that says, well, if you want your friends to get this benefit, you have to give a 10-minute speech every time you rest. And forcing that player to say, all right, gang, they've got us down, but we are not out. We will not give up.
And you have to do it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, having that go on, 10 minutes is long for a speech period. I feel like my party
I
would
can't
be
make it through a 10-minute TED Talk without 1.5 speeding it at least.
Yeah, exactly. I also don't like that it's called Inspiring Leader. I know that it doesn't make you the leader by any sense, but I also, just as a person at my table, I almost don't want to say, yes, I am the party leader, and I have taken the feat, claiming that I am the leader,
Yeah, maybe instead have it, just be, inspiration or something like that. I mean, I know there's a mechanic called inspiration in D&D, but, along that lines.
Yeah, or just...
inspiring.
Yeah,
take the inspiring feat.
Inspiring voice. Voice of inspiration.
Inspiring
like
speech.
Yeah, exactly. Inspiring speech. I love it.
And funny enough, I told you guys I've almost taken this a few times and then talked myself out of it. Part of the reason is you get to that point, my character really isn't a leader, so maybe I shouldn't take this. He's more of a supportive role.
Yeah, and typically he's not the one giving the pre-combat speech. He's not. He's not usually the one saying "Okay, guys, follow me in here." He's usually the guy that sits back a little bit.
Yeah. So I think there are other ways to be inspiring rather than giving a 10-minute speech, and there are also other ways to give your friends temporary hit points if you want to get that feature. But I do like the flavor of it, and that's the main thing.
And so here's how I would rule it. I'm the typical DM that you guys have. If one of you guys was to take this, I'd say, give me a little something. Give me a good 30 seconds to a minute that you say something badass. And once you're done, the effect goes off. I don't care if it's 10 minutes. It won't even be 10 minutes in the game. I'm not saying that you sat there and talked for 10 minutes. It's like, okay, you used your feature. If you had done it for 10 minutes, then you would have gotten it anyways. It's not affecting anything in the game if I let you do that.
Right.
So, say if Pyth did end up taking that, he would get to use the feature in a minute or less if he wants.
I think it really depends on the situation. And even furthermore, if you want to actually be the leader type, I kind of like the variation where maybe you're just more of the commanding leader. So maybe
Mastermind
you're
rogue.
a mastermind rogue or a martial adept fighter.
Yep.
Maybe just mid-combat, while the duration lasts that you guys are fighting. Maybe you're just shouting out commands to people. Maybe you're telling them where to hit, who to fight back against, who to focus your fire on. Maybe that would be enough to give you those extra temporary hit points.
Yeah, I mean that would be really cool, especially like saying, "Hey, everyone has these temporary hit points," and whenever the time comes up that they're going to get hit or something, shouting it or like having them go off, then flavoring it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that'd be sick. I'm imagining a College of Valor bard would also fit that really well.
Because when we think about it, that actual hit point pool isn't always your character, becoming a bloody mess. If I became a bloody mess for 120 hit points, I probably would have died on the first hit.
Oh yeah.
So being able to add hit points, quote unquote, from yelling at someone or inspiring them a little bit, it's not unreasonable. It's pretty cool.
Which I know we started digging right into. I don't know if we specified exactly how many hit points it gives you. But 30 people, I'm not 30 people.
30
my
people
goodness,
on
30
your
people
army.
is really good. 30 feet around you, up to, I believe it's 6 different people of your choice. They get your level plus your charisma mod in temporary hit points. And this can happen at the beginning of the day. It could be after a rest. I think that's pretty solid.
Now, I will say, it does say friendly creatures. Varys cannot take this feat because no one would get the hit points.
Exactly.
You just give it to yourself. It doesn't say you have to affect anybody else. It could just be you, right?
Well, I think it's my turn, and there are two.
No, I see. I'm gonna deny you because there's one more I want to talk about.
Okay.
Actually,
You know what? Actually, do yours because I have two.
Yeah,
so
Zach got two. I get two.
You get two.
Yeah,
Okay.
please,
Cutsies,
Drew.
boys.
Please tell us what you got.
So the other one I'm actually going to talk about, I've never actually taken it myself, believe it or not, but it's one of my personal favorites just because I think it benefits the melee fighters and makes them feel much stronger. It makes them feel more consistent in their combat. I actually go with Savage Attacker. I believe it's once per turn. You can actually re-roll your damage die on, I believe it's a melee attack specifically, although it could be ranged as well. You just re-roll your damage die. I mean,
Which is nice.
It's simple. It's effective. It makes you feel a little more consistent, and it eliminates those weird rounds, especially on a weird crit where you roll really low and it doesn't work out right. And you could just get back to that average damage, or maybe boost it up a little bit more.
I like this for specific types of characters, ones that are dealing all their damage on like one attack. So I don't know. Let's see. Would Savage Attacker work if you're like a rogue for a melee weapon attack?
Yep,
So,
so-
if it was for your sneak attack, that would be really nice.
I don't think it counts for your sneak attack.
So it's only for your weapon?
Yeah,
It just says melee weapon.
Yeah, you re-roll the weapons damage dice and use either total. So you
Yeah.
could re-roll, say if you get an extra however much from a crit, you could re-roll the crits damage dice,
Right.
I would say, but not the sneak attack because that's a separate thing acting upon the
Right.
the base.
So
would
I
agree.
guess
Damage
it's
die.
nice for those big weapons, but like say a monk's unarmed strike, it's more about hitting multiple times rather than hitting once. So like even if you get a 1 on your damage die roll, as a monk, you got 3 more attacks coming up. You're probably going to do a little bit better. I think it's cool. Like I think it's definitely cool. But there are other feats as a monk I'd like to take.
I actually, and while it's called Savage Attacker, there's a character I want to play in the future, and I think I've talked about it a few times. I really want to play a very graceful, spiritual samurai fighter at some point.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I'd love to take Savage Attacker, but not call it Savage, something like, Graceful Fighter or something like that. And in a sense where he strikes very hard, but gracefully though, kind of like a snake, a quick strike that just ends their life very quickly and gracefully.
Yeah, he goes for like
a merciful strike.
Yeah, like he's very pinpoint.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Maybe it's like a pinpoint strike or something like that.
Calculated attack.
Calculated attack.
Yeah, exactly,
that's good.
exactly.
Well, cool. I actually haven't like taken a good look at Savage Attacker before, but I do like it. One of my favorite feats, especially if you're a caster with very, very low hit points, something that I think a lot of beginners could benefit from taking, is the tough feat.
Woo.
It gives you an extra 2 hit points per level. It's very easy to understand. You just get a massive health buff. For instance, our boy Pyth, a wizard in our current campaign we're playing, is a wizard. He had 70-something hit points before, and he took the tough feat recently, and now he has over 90 hit points.
He's been hitting the books
Yeah. Yeah, he's been hitting the books really hard.
really hard.
I like it because it adds a little bit more survivability to those classes that aren't already very survivable, or on the flip side, a character with a D12 hit die, it just makes them way harder to kill. So, for instance, like your fighter who already like can struggle sometimes if they're being focus fired by the enemies. You know, Nuth came into that, came under fire a couple of times where he was the only one being hit, and he almost went down like numerous times because his character is very much the main focus of combat. So if he is getting hit a lot, it's not very good for him, and he doesn't have infinite hit points like some of the enemies did. I think that Tough, you know, say he had it, you know, would have added a good 2 or 3 more hits before he died.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine a bear totem barbarian with the
Exactly.
tough feet. You know, of course, Hill Dwarf for that extra 1 hit point. At that point, I would not want to have to
16 or 18 con.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to design encounters for that guy because I don't know how I'd kill him. Like, honestly, the only way to TPK would kill everyone else first, and then
focus this guy.
And then finally we could even try to hurt him. No, but that is an amazing feat. I'll say I think probably the feat that draws in the most new players. And just
I was about to
most
say
exciting.
this, so I can't believe you're about to bring it up when I was going to bring it up as my second one.
Wow.
Oh, well, I didn't know that you were getting a second one, but okay, we can talk about it together, Seth. This is a cooperative, yeah. The lucky feat. You have impeccable luck, inexplicable luck. That's what I said. That seems to kick in just at the right moment. You have 3 luck points. Whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to roll an additional d20. You can choose to spend 1 of your luck points after you roll the die, but before the outcome is determined, you choose which of the d20s is used for the attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Additionally, you can also spend 1 luck point when an attack roll is made against you.
The DM has to re-roll.
Yeah, exactly. If more than one creature spends a luck point to influence the outcome of a roll, the points cancel each other out. That's mostly just for PvP. You'd be a very sick DM to to give your monsters the lucky feat.
I think it could work for a certain kind of NPC. Like, say, this hasn't happened, but say a Rakshasa. You know what I mean? A Rakshasa with the lucky feat.
You bastard! Don't even say it.
I just thought of it, but like a Rakshasa, you know, you're fighting against them. They're supposed to be very conniving, very manipulative. They're not like the strongest creatures to go against, but they come back again and again and again.
They sure do, and I
they-
wish they'd stop.
And they bother the hell out of you. So, yeah, the lucky feat on a Rakshasa would be rad as hell.
Seth, the next time we run into this thing, he better not make us re-roll stuff.
You know, I just thought of it, and
No.
just don't tell the other
Nope.
players. Just don't tell them.
Nope.
When I look at Hikili and go, re-roll your die.
See, you know what?
He's like, nat 20. I go, re-roll that.
It's making me think, though. You know, they make a saving throw, and I portent it. They lucky it and override the portent, and then I portent the second lucky.
That would be really cool. And then you counterspell too.
No. That's too much. It's too much. But it'd be really cool, though. You know, does it, I know that's kind of a small, maybe not something that everyone would think about when you think of lucky, but can you override portent with the lucky?
I would say no.
Yeah,
I would
you-
say
you
they
don't
have
roll
to make
for it.
Yeah, because you don't roll for portent. I'd say portent if you use that and you say he rolls a 3, he can't re-roll it because he didn't roll anything.
Unless the wording is force the roll.
No, it's re-roll.
So here's my question, though. If you're a player with the lucky feat and also have the Divination Wizard's portent, can you use the lucky feat on your portent at the start of the day? I think as a DM I would allow that, but rules as written, I don't think it works.
I think I would allow that too. I think it'd be very funny. Like, especially if they got a good one and you just want to mess them up. Like, you're a rogue and you're just like, yeah, re-roll that portent. Like, re-roll that nat 20. Like, that would be so
That's
funny.
awful. You know what? Never mind. I take it back.
I would allow it. I think it would be hilarious. That's something that, like, Patrick or Sean would definitely do in the game. They'd be like, yeah, you know what? I don't like that one.
I feel like it goes too deep into the rules. Lucky makes me think too hard about what you could possibly do with it and how you can break
But
stuff.
it's very attractive to other players or to new players because a lot of times at those early levels, you're not hitting every attack, you know?
That's
Like,
true.
a lot of your attacks are missing. You are struggling a little bit here and there. And, I mean, that's what I think a lot of early levels are about, are the struggle of being a low-level adventurer. And so the lucky feat becomes attractive because as a new player, you look at it and you go, oh, a higher chance that I hit things? A higher chance that I succeed or that my spell goes off? Like, he made my save. Lucky. You have to make it again.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, that is fantastic. I do really like that feat.
Okay, well, those are some of my favorites from the player's handbook. Any other cool ones that you guys want to bring up?
Well, I am looking at Xanathar's, and I do want to bring up just... I don't know if I like this feat because it feels almost essential for certain races, but squat nimbleness is definitely a must-have for any small race or dwarf.
I had that as Schmidt as well, I believe.
Yep, you definitely did. So this increases your strength or dexterity ability score by 1. You can increase your walking speed by 5 feet, which, if you don't know, most small races by default have 25 feet of movement. So getting that extra 5 and being able to keep up with the rest of the party is definitely handy. I believe goblins actually have 30 feet, so you get up to 35 as a goblin, which would be great.
Oh, that's cool.
And then additionally, you get proficiency in acrobatics or athletics of your choice. Really suck if you already have proficiency in both. Both, maybe you'd take a different feat at that point. But and then additionally, you have advantage on any athletics or acrobatics checks you make to escape from a grapple. So very, very handy. I wish Oswin had this. I might skip it again. We're about to get to 12th level, get another ability score, but it's definitely a really, really great feat. And again, the reason why I almost don't like it is it does feel mandatory for those small races because it's such a good feat.
Yeah. I always like SWAT nimbleness. It's nice for the extra movement speed, the things that you need as those small races already. It's just a little buff. I like it. Another one from Xanathar's that I used to break playing a stealthy wizard was Elven Accuracy.
Yeah, you sure did.
So let me set the scene a little bit. You're about to go fight the big bad of the campaign. They've been built up for this entire time. They're scary. They're possibly, the strongest creature in the realm that you're currently in, and you're just a petty little 11th level character, but you have Elven Accuracy and greater invisibility. Also, a lot of scorching rays. So Elven Accuracy basically gives you triple advantage. You get to roll with advantage, or anytime you have advantage, you can re-roll the lowest of those dice. So you get triple advantage. You get a much higher attack, or a much higher chance for natural 20s especially. And with Scorching Ray, where you already get to make 3 attacks, you're basically just rolling triple advantage all the time and getting infinite nat 20s. I loved it. I absolutely destroyed the final boss of the campaign that we once ran. And it wasn't just me. Other characters were doing an amazing job as well.
Of course. But he was not able to touch you, and the DM might have been a little bit unprepared because you'd never pulled this tactic until the final final session.
I had just gotten the ability to get a feat at this point. So, or I had just had the chance to have greater invisibility.
Yep.
And so I had just gotten greater invisibility. We go into this, and I was like, okay, I'm saving my 4th level spell slot for this encounter. Like, that's why I have it. It's just for me to use greater invisibility here. And then that level, when we got our feats, I was like, I have never read this feat in my life, but Elven Accuracy seems kind of broken here. And I was a high elf. So that is the one thing you're supposed to... you have to be an elf to have it, or a half elf. Though I'm sure with some of the Tasha's rules and stuff, you could override that. But I was playing a Blade Singer, super high AC. So as long as I can maintain that concentration as my War Mage, he was a Blade Singer, but I don't know, did I have the Warcaster feat? I may have.
I don't believe so.
But yeah, Elven Accuracy is crazy. It gives you triple advantage, especially if you're playing a Ranger who's an elf, anyone who can turn invisible, or anyone who has a buddy who can give them the help action constantly. You just get to roll 3 times.
Yep, and I will say the one limit to that is it is limited to dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma-based attacks. So, I'm sorry, strength. You can't be a strong elf, according to Xanathar's. I think I'd probably overrule that as a DM. I'd let you do it with strength, too. But
I don't think it would break anything if it was for a sword rather than a bow.
No, I think the reason that they specify it is because they wanted, this is what elves are like. But they've sort of been backpedaling with that, especially with the release of Tasha's. which I do prefer that take on it.
Yeah, I prefer the open-ended take.
For
I
sure.
wonder if they'll undo any of the racial binding for the features in Xanathars in the future, just because they've kind of gotten away from that, especially with the custom lineage now.
Maybe whenever they do the Mordenkainen's
Monsters of the
Multiverse,
Oh,
they're
wow.
planning on bringing back like a lot of the different races and the features that come along with them. Or like I think all the player character races, like the 20-something that there are going to be in there. So whenever that's like officially out and we can read it, then we might actually see them overruling some of those things because they're trying to be a little more broad in that I think the way they worded it was like, hey, not only Forgotten Realms is here, the way we've worded it in our other books is how it is in the world that we've made, but you're allowed to make your own world and whatever you want. So you can, it's a sandbox, play with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I know Xanathar's Guide to Everything is also included in that Monsters of the Multiverse pack that's releasing later this month. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if they waive some of the requirements for some of these feats.
Right.
But definitely, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. As far as other race-specific feats in Xanathars, I don't love a lot of them. I'm trying to think if there's even a single one. Dragonhide I do like for Dragonborn. We don't. I don't think we've ever seen this at our table. But you essentially get a mage armor effect. So your scales harden, and your claws are reminiscent of your draconic ancestors. So you can increase your strength, con, or charisma by 1, and then you get your AC at base is 13 plus your dexterity modifier, and then you can use a shield on top of that. Additionally, you can also make unarmed strikes using your claws as natural weapons, which do a D4 plus your strength mod. So not a terrible feat there either. Other feats that we haven't talked about that are super common, or I'd say very useful at your table, the healer feat. It is perfect for parties where just no one wanted to play cleric.
Or maybe you have one half-caster.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, it lets you use a healer's kit to stabilize a dying creature, and they also get 1 hit point.
Meaning
when
they
you do
wake
that.
up in combat.
Yeah, exactly, which is super important. Or you can also, I believe you just get to do this once per short rest, but you can also use a use of your healer's kit to restore hit points.
Let's see. As an action, you can spend one of a healer's kits to tend a creature and restore 1d6 plus 4 hit points to it. The creature can't regain hit points from this feat again until it finishes a short or long rest. So, once per short or long rest, and then with each creature, you can use your healer's kit to actually heal them a little bit.
Yeah, so you could do that for multiple creatures, however many times. That's cool.
It's really not a bad feat, especially to give healing to just about any class. But I've run a lot of new players, and I've never seen anybody pick this one.
We saw it a lot early on.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, though.
Yeah, and I think that it comes in handy for characters who want to be able to heal a little bit. I mean, honestly, a healer's kit in general comes in handy.
For sure.
The fact that you can, stabilize people whenever they're down without having to make, like, intense checks. Because a lot of times we have to make a medicine check, and it's like, okay, this person may die. Like, if they have 1 death fail, and if they roll a nat 1, they're dead. And if I don't stabilize them now, they're going to have to make that roll. Your character could die in those moments.
Yeah.
So...
I don't know. Come to think of it, I think we should purchase those. As players, we've sort of stepped away from using healers kits at all at our table, but why even make the
you guys
check?
have plenty of money. You can afford 4 or 5 healers kits to go around.
That's true, yeah.
Well,
I think the medicine check is a little bit more fun, though, as a player, just because what else is the medicine feat for, or medicine skill for, if not for stabilizing your party? And then
I'd say it's more so for, assessing injuries and or like say, it could be sent along with investigation and or figuring out the ailments that are on somebody. So like whether it's a disease or something arcane.
Right, but the whole stabilizing check is the one like do or die use of it, right?
Right. But in the same sense, I'd say like, why do you have an animal handling check? Like you don't have like an in-game reason for like animal handling checks necessarily either. It's mostly for those mundane things.
For sure, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Just to my point, I think it's more exciting rather than saying I definitely stabilize them,
Yeah.
and leaving that uncertainty. But but it's definitely useful. So I think we should start doing that.
I think what's interesting is when you go and you think about these healers kits, right? They're 5 gold, right? But when I think of healing, if I get a healing item, I'm going to spend an extra 45 to just get a healing potion.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
So I wonder if when you level up high enough to the point where you just have, I think most adventurers at a higher level have enough income to buy a few extra healing potions if they need it. I wonder if it's just not worth the healing kit later on. Maybe it's much better of an earlier item.
I'd say, especially if, say, you're making an early on character who's a very human or even like a custom lineage who happens to be like a doctor, it makes total sense in character for them to have the healer's feat, and it helps at those early levels especially. Like you said, later on it might not make that much of a difference, but even so, later on, it might be helpful to have an extra, say, maximum of 10 hit points to heal after a combat for everyone. It's like, okay, everyone, here's your healer's kit for the day. I'm using it now. And you have everyone get an extra, 5 to 10 hit points, as opposed to, always having to rely on magical healing and potions after that. Because, realistically, you're spending 50 gold on a potion that does 2d4 plus
2.
Plus 2. So you could get even less than the healer's kit would give.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, you could have a cleric in your party, but do they really want to use every one of their first level spell slots on Cure Wounds every single time? Not really. As someone who's been the dedicated healer for a lot of parties that I've been in, it doesn't always feel great to have to dip into your spell slots just for healing. So
and likewise, having a bag of holding stuffed to the brim with healer's kits that you spent, a couple $100 gold on, it's pretty cool. Like, it's like, okay, I have unlimited healing kits here where I'm just going to wrap up my party members all the time. Pretty cool.
For sure.
Free like, little Cure Wounds or something like that for the time being. It's cool.
I think it'd be specifically fun for an actual medic class. Like, if you were playing, let's say, a ranger or a fighter that was like a combat medic.
Yeah.
I think that'd be specifically cool.
I was thinking more along the lines of an artificer focused on healing.
Ooh, okay.
So they can create that bag of holding or something. So they're more of a support class. They take all the support spells they can get, and having that bag of holding and then stuffing it to the brim with healing kits, taking the healer's feat, and then having like a bunch of little gadgets that do healing stuff as well.
Ooh, or making the healing kits the gadgets. I like the idea that instead of a healing kit, it's like an AED, and they just real quick shock them.
Oh, that would be cool.
Points.
Like to have different forms of healer's kits. So you pull one out, you open it up, and you see the components inside. You're like, "Yep, that's that spell," and you just throw it off into the distance to go off. That's really cool.
Now I kind of want to do it.
As an artificer, though, I would say you might get more bang for your buck. It'll be a little bit more costly, but you can craft healing potions for half the cost if you... it's not artificer specific, I believe, but there are rules for crafting healing potions in Xanathars.
Right, you could be a fully flesh healer in that way too, though. Like you still have that bag full of healer's kits that you cast with, and then also have that on the side, like a bunch of healing potions, like a bandolier of healing potions. Like, come on.
Yeah, you've sold me on it.
It's just a full healing artificer.
Man, I have some great ideas now for some medics. Ooh.
Are there any cool? I haven't taken a good look at all of the Tasha's feats, I've looked at all of them and read through, but I don't have a good memory of them. One that I do remember though, because I recently had it, was the Eldritch Adept feat. They've added a lot of these feats in Tasha's that just like give you a little dip into another class, and that's one of my favorite types of feats to take. It started with Magic Initiate, like back in the day. You could take a spell from a mage. But what I really like is all of these feats. I think there's a martial initiate type deal. Like what are the names of them, Zach? You have it open.
Yep, it's a fighting initiate. You get a fighting style from the fighter class. Any one of your preference. There's Eldritch Adept, which would give you an Eldritch Invocation from the Warlock class. Yes. Let's see. There was one for Metamagic Adept. You get a metamagic or two metamagic features from the sorcerer class, and then 2 sorcery points to use for those. And then Artificer Initiate, which is more or less the same as Magic Initiate. It's just extending it also to the Artificer. I believe, though, they also added a bit where you can... Let's see. Yes, so you can... the feature of the Magic Initiate feat was you can only use this first level spell that you get once. But with Artificer Initiate, they actually say you can also cast the spell using any spell slots you have.
Right, so you could be a mage with an Artificer Initiate and take Cure Wounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great. But one thing I really like about these feats is the fact that like you can flavor a character so much better now, because I played my Halloween character we talked about in the one-off last week, and I had him use the Great Pumpkin as a patron, so that way he could have mage armor constantly. So he had the Eldritch Invocation, where the Great Pumpkin had granted him basically like a Kevlar or like a mage armor consistently. So it was just extra protection for him as my supervillain. Like being able to dip into those like really cool character building ones, and basically it lets you take an Eldritch Invocation. So there's one Eldritch Invocation that basically gives you mage armor at will, which at my table usually we treat at will spells as like, you can do this whenever you want, as so long as it's not like during the middle of combat. So if it's in the middle of combat, it's going to cost an action. If it's, say, outside of that and you're using the disguise self one that lets you cast that at will, I'm more so just going to be like, you can change your disguise whenever you want, or like it's going to stay up unless stated otherwise.
Right.
Likewise, getting a fighting style is super cool for any character that's using a melee weapon. If you don't want to go all the way into dipping into another class, it takes a lot. It's a lot of resources to dip a whole level into another class to get these things. So being able to take it as a feat with an ability to increase is like, amazing. I almost wish we could get a rogue one that gives you some form of cunning action in the future. Like, and it might be a little bit broken not to let you have to take those 2 levels, but maybe like a watered down version of it that's not like hiding and everything too, or maybe it just lets you like do specific things from like a cunning action, but some sort of roguish ability to add in there. And I think it would have to go around cunning action, because that's kind of, or a sneak attack. Maybe it gives you like the first level of a sneak attack.
That could be interesting.
I would argue that skill expert is that for the rogue.
Really?
Because it does give you expertise, which is their first level feature as well.
That's fair.
But I would like a sneak attack to add on top. That's always helpful.
Yeah, you just get like an extra D6 if you had advantage on a roll, or if you attacked from like not being seen or something.
Yeah, I'm specifically for fighting initiate. If you have a variant human or custom lineage and get it at level 1, I do love the ability that you you can be a level 1 barbarian with a fighting style as well. Because that's the one thing that the fighter gets that the barbarian doesn't. So at that point, a first level barbarian with a fighting style is just incredible. And I really want to, at some point, I want to play a character with the unarmed fighting style added in Tasha's.
Yeah, for sure.
As a barbarian.
Which we discussed this a little bit before the podcast started, but we can bring it up a little bit now. Drew was talking about how he really likes the flavor of the Tavern Brawler feat, and Zach and I were like, we had a little discussion off air, and we talked a little bit about how you can basically use the unarmed fighting style with this dip into fighter, basically in the same exact method, because I'm never going to tell my player that they can't pick up a rock and use it as their unarmed strike, because realistically, what's the rock going to do? A D4 if I make him use it, as opposed to you just getting a D8 for your unarmed strike anyways. So I'm going to let them add that flavor in anyways, even without the Tavern Brawler feat. But the Tavern Brawler feat does have a lot of cool flavor, especially in the wording of it, not even necessarily with the features that it gets. And basically what that does, for anybody who doesn't know what it is it lets you use improvised weapons to fight. So say I want to pick up the chair and smash it over someone's head, I can do that. I can do that by the book, as opposed to like me just saying you can do it anyways, which I'm probably going to.
Right. So typically you wouldn't be proficient in using an improvised weapon, say if you're completely unarmed, but you want to break a glass bottle and then, use it as a weapon.
Which I think is the key example that everybody would use, is like, oh, I got in a bar fight.
Yeah, exactly. So perfect name for it, Tavern Brawler. But so you can add your proficiency bonus to attacks made with improvised weapons. And then additionally, your unarmed strike does do 1d4 of damage, which is just woefully bad in comparison to the unarmed fighting style at this point.
Which does a d8.
Yeah, a d6 if you've got something in one of your hands, and a d8 if you're completely unarmed.
Right.
I think
then also Tavern Brawler. Sorry to interrupt you, Drew.
You're good.
You can also, if you make a unarmed strike attack or attack with an improvised weapon using your attack action, you can grapple as a bonus action, which is okay, but it's not great.
I'm going to make the same point that I made about Sharpshooter before, to where when you take Tavern Brawler, you feel like a Tavern Brawler, you know? Because while it's possible that your DM or your table allows you to, improvise your attack with a rock or a bottle or something like that, when you take the feat, it feels different. You get into the mindset of the barbarian that runs
You
into
almost
the
feel
bar.
like you have to do it, so you start playing it up more.
Exactly. You feel like you're going to dive over the bar, grab some bottles, start throwing them across the room. It gets you in the zone. The same thing with Sharpshooter. When you're a Sharpshooter, I want to use my bow all the time. I want to take those risky shots around corners and just, threading the needle through a window or something like that. It gets you in the zone.
That's true. That is very true.
I agree. Those are all very cool things that whenever you take a feat in the game, no matter what feat it is, you start to play up that role a little bit more. But like I said, going all the way back to these like little dips in other classes, I think those are some of the most perfect feats, some of the best additions to Tasha's, and some of the perfect feats for beginners to take whenever they're not really sure how to add flavor to their character, or maybe even just they want a couple of new different abilities. They always wanted to play an Artificer, but they just started their first campaign, and they're a wizard, and they kind of want some of that flavor, And they're easy to understand. Like, hey, I get this little bit from another class. I mean, you're gonna have to read it over and make sure you're doing everything correctly, of course. But having that option to take those dips, it makes me when I create characters just like have a lot more fun.
For sure. I know this episode is running a bit long, but I did want to pose this question to the group. Are there any feats that you would like to call out that are beginner's traps? Because I will say all feats are not created equal. There are some real stinkers in there. Tavern Brawler is one that I would say is a beginner's trap at this point because the improvised fighting style, or I'm sorry, the unarmed fighting style is so much better. But there are a few others. I mean, there are plenty of applications for pretty much every feat. So you can make anything work, but there are some that are just, it's really confusing why they would dare to replace an ability score increase with something like, just off the top of my head, Charger. I hate this feat. It allows you to use your action to dash, and then you can use your bonus action if you use your action to dash to make one melee weapon attack. So if you're a fighter who has extra attack, at that point, you're wasting one attack, but you do get to cover more distance. My issue with this feat is it only works once, because at that point, you're already up in close range with the thing you're fighting, unless you have something like the mobile feat to keep running back and forth. That's not very useful. And then, additionally, if you move at least 10 feet in a straight line immediately before attacking with the bonus action granted by this, you do get a +5 bonus to it, to the damage roll. But again, you really have to be building your whole character around this +5 to damage, because otherwise you're going to use it once in combat, and then you're basically planted unless you want to keep taking attacks of opportunity.
I do have one that I have read a million times over, hoping it's better this time.
Just keep checking the fridge, Seth. It might change.
As someone who likes to play a lot of casters, you would think the feat Spell Sniper is something I'd be itching to take immediately. It sounds cool. It's like Sharpshooter, where you're like, ooh, I'm going to like be casting spells way more accurately. Like, it's going to be so much easier to hit everything that I would like to hit. Guys, Spell Sniper does a couple of things. Now, I will say there are some merits to it. When you cast a spell that requires you to make an attack roll, the spell's range is doubled. Great, cool. Most of the time I can hit with my fireball anyways, but now I can hit it 240 feet. That's awesome. Your ranged spell ignores half cover and 3/4 cover. Cool. That's nice. If it comes up, that's like a really good little feature for me. And that's it. Now, something I would really love to see, something I was hoping for when I first read this is, okay, I'm a little more accurate in my spell casting. I do a little more consistent damage with it. So, say, I'm not saying add a +10, to whatever I'm going to roll, unless I'm taking a little hit to my attack roll, sort of like you would with Sharpshooter or something else. Because a Sharpshooter for a mage would be really cool. But, for instance, give it a +5 to damage consistently, or something like that, or I add just my my modifier, so like my intelligence to it if I'm a wizard.
Okay.
Those kinds of things would be very nice to add a little bit of consistent damage to a spellcaster. Though the one other thing the spell sniper gives you is an extra cantrip. I didn't really mention that because
Oh, I didn't know it did that.
yeah, it gives you an extra cantrip from a set of lists from Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. I'm sure you could include Artificer in there now too if you wanted to, but yeah, you get one extra cantrip. That's nice, but Spell Sniper just feels like a little bit of a trap to me in that way where as a caster you read through it, and when you read Spell Sniper you go, that sounds like it's for me because I'm a spellcaster. I'm always slinging spells. I just wish it had something a little bit in there to entice me to get it, because I'm more willing to take any other feat over that. Like I'd rather have Warcaster or something that like helps my concentration a little bit better over Spellcaster.
Yeah,
or Spell Sniper.
I'll agree. I think Spell Sniper is sort of a beginner's trap. Additionally, there is the prerequisite to take it. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, I'd really like one cantrip, it also specifies that the cantrip has to require an attack roll, which is kind of dumb. But you also already have to be able to cast a spell to be able to take this feat in the first place. So at that point, if I'm a wizard, I already have Firebolt. I already have, whatever my attack roll cantrip is going to be. Unless I'm a variant human and I'm using this to gain like an extra cantrip to do something else, that part of it's almost worthless. Like you don't really need more than one cantrip, unless, for example, you're a sorcerer, but you really want Eldritch Blast. That would be the one thing that's good for.
I would say that would be a way to acquire it, is take Spell Sniper for Eldritch Blast, But at the same time, if you don't have an invocation to upgrade your Eldritch Blast, then just keep Firebolt. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting a slight upgrade with Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, if anything, I'd say it's a downgrade in some cases, because you have to make multiple attack rolls for each of your D10.
True.
Whereas if you hit with Firebolt, you get the full damage.
Right. I'd say Eldritch Blast is a little more consistent, though, where...
Right, exactly. So
you're consistently... you're at least going to get one or two of those. You might deal a little less damage, consistently, but if you go 3 rounds without hitting a Firebolt, you feel useless.
For sure, yep.
I kind of like the idea, because when I think Spell Sniper, I think, more accurate rather than damage. I kind of like the idea that it gives you almost like the archery fighting style, maybe, but with spell attack rolls. And maybe that sounds like a lot, but realistically, as a caster, you're only going to cast one per turn, unless you cast Scorching Ray or, you're a Warlock or something.
Right.
I don't think it'd be that crazy.
No, it wouldn't be. I like that a lot, and my only other idea for changing Spell Sniper in a way would be if you wanted to have something to do with saves in a way. Once per day or once per short rest, you can force a creature to have disadvantage on their save against one of your spells. I mean, making it a little more accurate, a little more feasible that you're going to hit that. Do I think that's super powerful? Not really that powerful, especially. It would be nice to have disadvantage on a save, but you're fighting something that's got a +10 anyways. It's still likely they're going to make it.
Right.
But it's a little extra oomph, it's a little something
Yeah,
nice.
a little something extra. So that's Spell Sniper, and why I hate it as someone who plays a lot of casters.
The one I have that I specifically want to mention is Keen Mind. It really doesn't do a whole lot for you. It tells you which way is north at all times. Great.
Yay!
Cool. You could have a compass or something,
In my Explorer's kit.
Exactly. You can know how many hours there is left in the day. Great. You could look up.
Yay!
And last but not least,
I can just roll a survival check for that shit.
Exactly. And and I'll give it. There are specific situations, in which case maybe you're in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, or you're deep in some dungeon or cave or something where you might not be able to see the sun or something like that. Okay, cool. For that very specific scenario, yeah, it could be good. And then the last one is, I believe you can remember anything you've seen or heard in the last 30 days. I can't think of a DM that I've ever played for, or a time I've ever forced someone to make an intelligence save, unless their character had a 4 intelligence.
I have before had you guys make history checks to remember something that everyone doesn't remember at the table, because usually one of you guys will bring up the thing and be like, I think it was something like this, right, Seth? And I'm like, yes, that's what it was. But if everyone's like, oh, shoot, I don't remember this person's name, then that's the time when I go, all right, make a history check because I want to see if you actually remember or if you guys as a party have completely forgotten this thing, which is funny. Like, I'm never doing it to hurt the party.
No, and specifically,
but
you're probably
yes.
using it when the party maybe is a little newer to the game, and you
Yes.
want to make them think. You want to work together a little bit more, dig through their notes.
Yeah, realistically, your DM should tell you most of this stuff anyways.
Yes.
You know, it's a early player trap for someone who is probably like a ranger or a druid and wants to be like the survival guide. Like, oh, I'm gonna take keen mind because that means I know all of this stuff off the top of my head. And I'm like, well, your character has a +10 to survival, so they probably know that anyways.
Right.
That's all I'm thinking. And realistically, if you want to go with the argument, if you really like Critical Role, you know, there's a specific character that takes this and uses it quite frequently. I've thought about this a bunch, and the reason why it gets used so much is because everyone on that show are professional actors. They're really good at what they do, and they make it work. That's the only way I can think of this thing being any good.
Right, and I do think that it is sort of catered to an older style of D&D almost. Like, in creating 5e, they wanted to give you options for running like a classic dungeon dive, and knowing which way is north and recalling intimate details of a dungeon is very handy if you're always inside of a dungeon, but it's rarely handy in the types of games that we play. Another feat like that is Durable, which when you roll a hit die to regain hit points, the minimum number of hit points you regain from the roll equals twice your Constitution modifier. That is all that it does. So this is used on short rests. If you're a fighter, your action surge uses it. There's a shitty feat in Xanathar's that lets dwarves do something similar, but additionally you get a +1 to your con, but this is just such a bad feat unless you are in that dungeon and each of you are very precious about your hit die, and like the difference between a few hit points spells life or death. That's the only case that I could imagine this feat even being remotely considered. But it is bad. It is BAD.
And with that, do not take Shield Master either. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Table Talk Friday. If you would like to write into the show, please email us at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com with your questions, your comments, your concerns, anything you could want to tell us about D&D. Please tell me a cool story. That's all I want to hear. And with that, I think it's time to just have a character with a feat take us out.
Oh, I've taken the actor feat. I'm an actor. Whoa. Actor, actor, like an actor. An actor would do with this feat. An actor, yes, me, the actor with the actor feat.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. For more fun conversations like this, follow the boys on whatever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. And if you have your own inquiries, you can find them at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Thank you.